And so, the day of the interview arrives. Hae-in stands in front of a large building. She mentions that they had agreed to meet in that building, but wonders on which floor his studio is. That's when Hyunjae appears and asks if she is long afternoon. He introduces himself, saying he is pleased to meet her, and then asks if it was difficult for her to find the place. She confirms that it was, assuring that she wouldn't have arrived without Google Maps. The young man chuckles slightly and confesses that he was a bit worried because all the alleys in that area look very similar. Then he asks if she is alone, since when he sent her a direct message, he read that a member of her group would accompany her. She explains that she usually works alone and that the other members only help with recording and arrangements. Upon hearing this, he asks if she is like a one-person band. She confirms and reveals that it's because everyone else has solo careers, and their drummer is still in university. Hyunjae understands, reflecting on the fact that he has a band but is also a solo artist. He then asks her to follow him, saying they will talk inside. But before that, he asks how she would like him to address her. She responds that her name is Shin Hae-in and that he can call her whatever he prefers, so he decides on Hein. Already in some section of the building, the young man explains that the company's meeting room is under renovation, so they will talk in his studio. Additionally, they can record a demo of the song. Upon hearing this, she asks if the entire building belongs to him, but he denies it, informing her that he only rented a few offices. However, he adds that you never know, if the record label he is preparing goes well, he might buy the whole building. That impresses her, but not as much as he expected. Looking at her, he thinks her reaction was too normal and believed she would be immediately interested when he mentioned the record label. This means that she is either not interested in joining his label or does not trust that he can do it on his own. He thinks that's fine since he knew convincing her wouldn't be easy. But the truth is, Hae-in spent the whole night composing and is sleepy. She wants to finish this meeting so she can take a nap in the ensemble room. Already in the studio, he asks if she wants something to drink, offering coffee, soda, or beer. She declines and prefers to discuss the collaboration plan first. He chuckles a little and understands, as after all, they managed to make time in their busy schedules to meet. So he hands her the contract and asks her to review the terms of the agreement. If she has any questions, she is free to ask. Hae-in starts reading the contract and then asks a question, wanting to know if, in case the collaboration happens, she will have to do any live performances or publicity with her face revealed. Hyunjae, looking at her carefully, responds that it all depends on her. She can remain a faceless artist as she is now, or gradually start revealing herself alongside him. However, before continuing, he wants to explain something to her. The reason he wants to collaborate with Long Afternoon is not because he thinks it will be a commercial success. Rather, he wanted to introduce this talented artist to the public, concluding that he did it purely out of sincere admiration. He asks her to keep that in mind. After that, he asks if they can listen to a demo, to which she agrees. However, she thought he would say that he wouldn't play live, but to her surprise, that wasn't the case. She wonders if this is hypocrisy just to close the deal or if he genuinely cares about her. After preparing everything, he informs her that they are about to start. As he presses play on the keyboard, a melody begins to play. After listening for a bit, she makes a face, asks him to wait a moment, and doesn't believe this is a real collaboration. She asks if she is only supposed to contribute vocals to a song he already finished. He confirms this and asks if the song is bad. However, she replies that the song is great, but since this is supposed to be a collaboration, it should have her style as well as Song Hyunjae's. She asks him to step aside for a second, overwhelming him for a moment as he gives her the space she needs. So Hae-in prepares herself and informs him that she will delete all the unnecessary tracks. Hearing this, he asks why she doesn't just mute them instead. but she responds that she doesn't know how to do that and will delete everything, scaring him. Then, Hae-in says that there is no turning back from her decision. The young man is in tears, having stayed up for 3 nights trying to find the perfect percussion. However, Hae-in doesn't care about that. In fact, she thinks the song he wrote is perfect, that there's nothing that needs improvement. If she alters it, she won't be able to make it her own. But then she remembers that there are people who like his song and his style. So if it's about long afternoon, she can't give up her style and begins playing something with great emotion. Song Hyun-jae watches this and reflects that he already knew she was influenced by shoegaze and post-rock. But he didn't know she could arrange music like that. He realizes it's not about abandoning her style or making compromises. She takes the songs into her own territory and He thinks this will be fun and considers Long Afternoon, or rather, the girl Hae-in, an impressive artist. He has a feeling that a great song will come out of this. Then he interrupts her and asks if she wants him to bring some beer. Looking at him, she confirms that she does and says she will start writing the first verse and finish the arrangements by the end of the day. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Yo-eun is on his computer, wondering if he can finish this task like this since he's afraid of losing points for such a weak argument. For now, he doesn't know, so he decides to take a break. Outside, he stretches and thinks that by mid-April, midterms will be over, and he'll have a bit more time. He should work on his personality and attend some job fairs. But he also thinks about something else. He wants to have a drink with Hae-in, blushing slightly. However, clearly, that would have to be on his agenda. Just at that moment, he receives a notification. When he hears it, he thinks he had put his phone on silent because if it rings in the library, he would be in trouble. Then when he sees what it is, he is left speechless. As the hours pass and night falls, already at the train station, Hae-in is listening to something until someone calls her. It was Yo-eun, who was sweaty and very excited, asking to hold a music gathering since Long Afternoon will be releasing new music. She is somewhat confused about this music gathering while at the same time looking at the young man's phone screen. Hae-in, upon hearing about a music gathering, asks what it is. Yo-eun explains that it's a party for listening to music, where people gather to discover new songs and share their impressions, just like with a movie. The girl seems impressed since she didn't know something like that existed, as she had never heard of it before. The young man tells her that when he was in high school, a friend asked him to accompany her to a listening party with the artist himself. He reveals that on that day, they listened to the new songs together, and then the artist himself spoke about how he interpreted the song and how he came to write the lyrics. That's why Yo-eun suggests that they should also hold a music gathering. Then he asks Hae-in if she saw what Long Afternoon posted on Instagram. He shows her the post on his phone and mentions that the song will be released on April 28th, so they should listen to it together at his house. The girl seems thoughtful about the idea and then asks if it wouldn't lose its meaning since Long Afternoon wouldn't be there. To her, it's important for the artist to be present to talk about the song. Yo-eun responds that she's right, but that they can still have fun on their own and have a few drinks. Hae-in looks at him with a slight smile and, getting closer, asks if that was what he was really hoping for, implying that he actually just wanted to drink with her. This catches him off guard, and he quickly denies it, replying that he just wanted to talk about Long Afternoon's new song together. But then, he blushes a little and confesses that, although he admits it, he needed an excuse. Hae-in looks at him closely before smiling dazzlingly. She then agrees to the gathering, but says she'll check if her schedule is free that day. So she looks at April 28 and realizes something, wondering if they will have to record the collaboration song that night. That's when she responds that she doesn't think the 28th will be possible, since they'll be recording in the studio until late at night. The young man feels a bit disappointed but understands the situation. However, Hae-in quickly says she can reschedule it and that there's still time. Yo-eun asks her not to, as she would have to worry too much, and that it was just an improvised suggestion he made out of excitement. Looking at him, she thinks that, even though he says that, it bothers her how he looks like a puppy that hasn't been taken for a walk. However, she can't help it, as she just agreed to that schedule with the band, so she can't postpone it any further. After thinking for a bit, Hae-in places a hand on his shoulder and says they can drink another time since he doesn't need an excuse to invite his friend for a drink, suggesting they go drinking together after she's done with midterms. That seems to cheer him up, and he responds that it's fine and that there will be other good days. Just then, the train starts arriving. A few days pass, and at Yeowon's university, the professor announces that the exam period is over and asks them to put down their pencils and hand in their answer sheets. The young man stretches a little, mentioning that he's finally finished. He reflects that midterms are finally over, and he only has to submit his assignments next week. Then he'll be free for a while, thinking that he almost died from so many exams. Just at that moment, as he was walking, a group of friends spotted him, and one of the guys asked if he had finished all his exams, inviting him to a review session later with their group. Yeowon responds that he'd love to, but he has work today. The guy, knowing that he works part-time, tries to convince him, saying it's just one day and that the entire club is gathering today. However, Yeowon is a responsible person and declines the invitation since he took a day off last week, so he has to go today. Besides, he knows that Long Afternoon's new song is coming out today. He reflects that, even though he and Hae-in can't meet, he has to enjoy the new song on his own and can't miss that excitement. So the young man says goodbye to the guy who invited him and wishes them a good time. The guy understands, but still comments that he should come by once in a while. Yeowon agrees, but then thinks that the song will be released at 4 p.m. and he will save it for after work so he can finally go home and listen to it properly. Until he gets home, sits on the couch, and puts on his headphones, eager to listen to the song and wondering what kind of music he will hear this time. But before that happens, his stomach growls with hunger and he realizes he hasn't had dinner yet. So he decides to order something for dinner since he just got paid, and for that reason, he'll order some chicken. After placing the order and requesting that the food be left at the door, he decides to take a shower. While in the bathroom, he remembers Hae-in and thinks it's strange since today should be a good day. But he wonders why he feels so lonely. Just at that moment, the doorbell rings insistently. The young man wonders what's going on since he had asked for the food to be left at the entrance and questions why they keep ringing. So he comes out of the bathroom, somewhat annoyed, and yells that he had written in the request for them to leave the food at the door. Opening it, a bit irritated, he finds a familiar face. It was Hae-in. Seeing her, he asks why she's there. She looks at him and replies that she thought they were going to have a music gathering. She responds that she arrived early because she wanted to have a good time and reveals that she bought some good alcohol. Then she asks if she's late. The young man responds that she's not and that he also just got home, inviting her inside. Then she apologizes and asks, while he's alone at home, if he always stays in his underwear. That's when he realizes how he's dressed, blushing and asking her to wait a moment while he puts on some clothes. Hae-in thinks that he must have been in the shower. As he gets dressed, he thinks that she really came to his house. He considers it a disaster since he hasn't tidied up anything and hasn't been able to take out the trash. Then she calls him, and as the young man turns around, he hears Hae-in asking if he could lend her a change of clothes like last time, since before starting to drink, she would love to take a shower first. Leaving the young man speechless. And with that, we've reached the end of this week's chapter. If you made it all the way to the end, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this chapter in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe so our community can keep growing and we can reach more fans like you. See you in the next video. In the meantime, if you're from the near future, I'll leave you the next chapter and a comic you're sure to enjoy. Thank you for being part of this adventure.